Hi everybody, it's Ruth Royal here from Youth Pledge for Employers, and I'm really delighted today to be talking to James Cook, who's Managing Director at PCE Automation. Hi James, lovely to meet you.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, nice to be here. So yes,
Great.
Looking forward to it.
So James, first of all, tell us a little bit about PCE Automation, what you do as an organisation and what sort of jobs people do there.
Yeah, most certainly. So PCE Automation, so we're a family business, so we were started in 1961. Slightly different to what we're doing today. So back in those early days, we were a boat building company. But as time traveled by, we moved more into the automation arena. So what does that mean? Well, it's essentially engineering. So engineering of new technologies around, whether it be around medical devices or emerging technologies. So from our base in Beccles in Suffolk, that's where the headquarters are based. We also have a facility in Leicestershire, in Lutterworth. So we have sort of multi sites. So that, again, with regards to travel, that's travel within the UK, that makes life so much easier. So medical devices, as I say, and emerging technologies. And we pride ourselves very much on the fact that we cover all disciplines of manufacture, all disciplines of engineering, manufacture, automation. So right the way through from sales, from initial concepting, all the way through to commissioning engineers who go on site. So just to break that down in slightly more context, so from an initial customer inquiry for a medical device, again, with what's happened recently with regards to the pandemic, medical devices, medical testing has been very much in the news. So many of the components which you perhaps would have seen on some of the news reels would potentially have been either designed or concepted from our facility in Beccles. So from those initial design concepts, they then go through to a sort of full design. So we have mechanical and electrical designers, and also software design. So design is a very, very big part of what we do. So after the design stage, it then goes through into manufacture. So full manufacturing suite. So again, from steel fabrication, so welding, cutting of metals, through to machining. So again, computer machining, CNCs. So machine shop is a big part of what we do in the manufacture and preparation of the materials and goods in readiness for them to be fitted together. We then have assembly technicians. So assembly technicians, whether they be mechanical, so more of a mechanical bias, or electrical. So we do crossover. So we try to make people as our staff, we try to upskill as far as possible. But we still find that there's people have a sway, a flair for either the mechanical or the electrical in probably 80 to 90% of cases. So then from the assembly stage, we then have our commissioning team. So these are the guys and girls who set up the machines, and then we become more into the software elements. So all of our machines are automated, so they're controlled automatically. So there's a high level of software design and integration that's required. So I think the great thing about what we do is that all the way through, if you'd love to see things being made, you don't necessarily have to have a flair. You don't have to be excellent with your hands even. So there's a great range of supporting functions to a side of the automation. So we have our financial team. So aside of the financial team, we have our operations. So the operations team would sort the logistics of the site. So there's lots of internal maintenance that's required, new buildings, new transport, logistics, and then we also have our human resources.
Right.
So from human resources again to logistical, goods inwards. So very much there's lots of support industry. So you know, if people do love to see things being made, but as I say, don't necessarily have a flair for that. Then as I say, you know, we're proud of the fact that there's a position for everybody within PCE automation.
That's so interesting, because I think so often it's easy to forget, isn't it, that actually no organisation just does one thing, and especially with the sort of breadth, and I'm guessing the specialism of yours, that there's all these support functions that sit around it, like your finance, your ops team, your HR team, your logistics team. I think that's really interesting to reflect on. With the thinking about the technical roles first, James. So if you want to be a designer, for example, what sort of qualifications or experience are you looking for from people who may want to join your company?
Yeah, so it isn't a necessity. So there's many. The reason I was hesitant there is because there's many different routes. Let's say you mentioned a design engineer. So there's many different routes you can take to reaching that goal. So whether it be joining the organisation as an apprentice, so first of all doing your 4-year apprenticeship, then from the apprenticeship taking extra studying. It might be to HNC level or the equivalent. You have to excuse me, that's probably a little bit old school of me there. But yes, certainly that there's routes to becoming a design engineer from apprentice level.
Wow, brilliant. Is that an engineering? Sorry, I was just going to ask, is that like an engineering technician apprentice?
Yes, that's correct. So yeah, you don't have to come straight in at that design level.
Right.
There, we also take people postgraduate and also interns in internships. So some staff do come in sort of straight as a junior, a trainee designer. So as I say, there's not one written rule. You know, if people have aspirations, and they might not even know that they definitely want to go into that role. So as I say, you know, we try to make career paths internally so that if somebody does join the organisation and they enjoy one particular field more than the other, we very much try to make their allow them to sort of build their career to suit to not only their skill level, but you know, certainly their interest level as well, because I think, you know, work-life balance and enjoyment is obviously paramount.
I love that you sort of reflected on the fact that, you know, people often sort of have a flair for one thing or another, and it's great that they get the opportunities to be able to explore that in PCE automation.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, you know, yes, you know, if I take my own career, when I go back to when I started, I didn't really know which way. I knew that I enjoyed seeing things being made, and you know, almost being able to stand back and take pride in seeing something that as a team we had, from a concept, it might even be a sketch on a piece of paper, that concept came all the way through to sort of something, a machine essentially, which is doing good. But as I say, you know, that's my particular interest. Other people within the organisation I know are more sales orientated, so they very much enjoy the personal interaction of dealing with customers on a day-to-day basis prior to that concepting stage. So as you rightly say.
Oh no, that's so interesting. And with the technical side of things, with the design, the machining, and the assembly and the commissioning, I'm guessing people come to you through sort of engineering routes. And I just wondered, is that the same for the software route, or do you get people who come with perhaps just more sort of pure digital skills, or do they have engineering skills as well, just out of interest?
Yeah, I think it's always, we naturally find that people do have an engineering bias. Let's just put it like that. However, to have that IT, to have that digital interest as well is obviously very, very important. So again, we tend to find that when we do employ people, we don't necessarily interview people with one specific role in mind, and so through their early stages of their work career with PCE, we tend to work with them to find out what, as I've said previously, sort of where their interests lie, and where they would like to sort of develop their internal career. But of course, saying that, some level of competence, let's just say that in the initial is also important. So,
somebody wanted to come to work for you in that sort of side of the business, and they were sort of looking for a kind of entry level role, or they were starting, how might they apply? What sort of things, do you tend to advertise jobs, or do you have open days?
Both of the above, really. So we advertise for roles. We also have open days. So one very recently through manufacturing days. I would very much encourage that they speak to. So we do tend to work very closely with whether it be the University of East Anglia, the East Coast College, or the MTC, if we consider our facility in the Midlands. University of Suffolk again. So we work as closely as possible with all the education. So I think I would recommend really that should be the first point of call, to see what courses are available, visit the colleges, the universities, and our own open days. And literally our doors are always open. So I would also say that there's direct contact with us. We're always willing to show people around, because we want to be we want to promote engineering, automation, manufacturing, whether that be hopefully at PCE, but if not at PCE, then certainly elsewhere within industry. So yes, as I say, our doors are always open.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that sounds so, it sounds like such an interesting part of engineering that you guys are doing, especially with the emerging technologies as well. Are you, just on a very sort of basic level, are your open days any particular sort of time of year so people could keep an eye out for them, or like at odd times through the year?
Yes, so they're normally early in July.
Okay.
So yeah, so this year's has recently has been a big success.
Brilliant.
But I really, again, I'm sorry for repeating myself, but I really would encourage, if someone was interested, then please drop us an email to info@pce-group.co.uk. It's on our website, and then yes, we will very much try to accommodate and arrange individual tours. And yeah, there's always things of interest from different market sectors, always going through the work. So if people do have an interest in engineering, I suppose, to start with, because the support functions are there, but what we can demonstrate probably better is the machines that are on the shop floor, the designs that are going through, and I'm always proud of what we do, and hopefully I can share that, or we can share that as a team, with regards to tours.
Oh, I think that sounds great, and that's a fantastic opportunity for young people to come to see what you do. I love your open door policy. On the sort of non-technical side, those support functions that you mentioned with ops and finances and HR and logistics, are there different entry level positions that people can go into there, or do you tend to recruit people with more experience? How does that work?
No, very much so. And I know, we've touched on this a couple of times today already, but we're again very keen that we don't set entry level. So that's it's not to say that people who do have high qualifications would go in at the same level as somebody who's perhaps not so qualified, but we're very keen that we try to create positions for everybody. There's roles within manufacturing, within PCE, and within those support functions that you just mentioned, that internal training, for example. So especially I think in this modern day, we find that people mature, people take to different styles of training. I think as an organization, but also as within education, I think it's now being realized that people do take to different training methods. So I think it's important that we don't kind of set those sort of entry level criteria, because we might be losing out on so much talent. So.
Oh, well, that's an absolutely great attitude to have. And that's so interesting that we're sort of saying about those different wraparound support layers that go with your business. I guess probably finally to end on, James, we've sort of asked everybody this, and I know you're part of a family business, but if you could go back and sort of have a conversation with your younger self starting out on your career journey, what piece of advice would you give yourself, do you think?
Yeah,
that is
a good. I think it's really to really have a go, at business. I mean, business employment, work should be enjoyable, and you've got to have something that gets you up in the morning, gets you excited, and I truly believe that there is that role for everybody. And I suppose if we're talking to my younger self, it's probably to recognize that earlier, and like I say, in my case, really have a go at business. I think you can do so much good in the world, so much great things, and like I say, I'm still loving it, and I would sort of encourage everybody else to not worry about sort of where their career is going, because it's okay to at the outset not to perhaps know, but like I say, there is that job, that enjoyment out there for everybody.
That is an absolutely brilliant note to end on, and a really great reflection to think of the people who perhaps want to apply to PCE automation, to come with that passion for making things, and that it sounds like that sort of natural curiosity about how to do stuff, and either with those technical skills or not, that there seems to be sort of roles for all different sorts of skill sets in your organisation. So James, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. That was great.
No, I've enjoyed it, and thanks very much for inviting me.